The space station was a hub of activity. It floated high above the desert planet, a bustling metropolis where humans and aliens from all over the galaxy lived and worked side by side. Ships came and went, trading goods, technology, and information. The air was always thick with excitement, especially in the heart of the station where the most dangerous and prestigious events took place. Today, the station was buzzing for a different reason. A challenge had been issued. Onlookers filled the stands of the massive arena, eager to watch the duel between an alien warrior and a human soldier. It wasn't just any match, it was personal. The alien woman was known across the galaxy for her strength. She had risen through the ranks of her species' military and had become a symbol of power. Her name alone was enough to strike fear into even the bravest warriors. She was tall, with sharp features and muscles honed for battle. Her race was known for their brutal ways, and she had proved herself to be among the deadliest of them all. No one ever dared to challenge her, at least not without thinking twice. Until now. The human soldier stood at the edge of the arena, looking calm and composed. He was nothing like the other warriors in the station. He wasn't tall or broad, nor did he have the same intimidating presence. In fact, he seemed rather ordinary, his face a mixture of quiet determination and focus. But there was something about him, something that set him apart from others. The alien woman, with her commanding presence, stood on the opposite side of the arena. Her eyes locked on the human, sizing him up. She couldn't help but smile, a mocking grin that hinted at how little she thought of him. She had already seen him once before back in the cafeteria, where he had been quietly sitting at a table, minding his own business. She had overheard some humans speaking of his past, but she had dismissed it as nothing more than stories meant to boost the confidence of weak soldiers. As the crowd continued to murmur, the alien woman approached the center of the arena. Her steps heavy with purpose, she raised her arm to signal the beginning of the challenge. She sneered at the human, her voice dripping with disdain. "You don't belong here," she said loudly, her words carrying through the arena. "You're worthless. A human like you doesn't even deserve to stand before me." The crowd fell, silent, awaiting the human's response. But he didn't speak. Instead, he simply stared back at her with an unreadable expression. His silence only seemed to fuel her anger. She took another step toward him, her posture even more aggressive. "Do you have nothing to say for yourself?" she taunted. "You humans are all the same, weak, insignificant. I should crush you right here." With a swift motion, she spat on the ground at his feet, a symbol of her utter contempt. The crowd gasped, some of them even recoiling at her boldness. But the human soldier did nothing. He didn't flinch, didn't even move an inch. The alien woman's eyes narrowed. Her patience was wearing thin. She expected him to shout back, to make some sort of challenge, but instead he simply stood there, his gaze never leaving hers. She found that even more infuriating than any insult he could have thrown back. "I see," she said with a cold smile. "You're just a coward." But the human soldier's response was far from what anyone could have expected. In the dead silence that followed her words, the human finally spoke, his voice calm and steady. "I'm not here to talk. I'm here to fight." The alien woman's grin faltered. She wasn't used to humans speaking to her in such a manner. Most would have cowered before her, apologizing, or at least pleading for their lives. But this one, he was different. She motioned for the duel to begin. The arena's countdown clock appeared above them, its numbers ticking down. The tension was palpable, and the crowd was on the edge of their seats, eager to see how this unlikely battle would unfold. "You're going to regret this," she hissed, her voice low and threatening. But the human soldier remained unfazed, his eyes locked on hers. There was no fear in his gaze, only a quiet determination that spoke volumes. The alien woman raised her fists in preparation, ready to show him just how outmatched he was. And yet, there was a flicker of uncertainty deep in her eyes. Could this human truly be as weak as she thought? The clock ticked down. The human soldier took one last deep breath, his body coiling like a spring, ready for action. With a final glance at the alien woman, he said nothing more. His silence was now his answer, The challenge had been set. As the countdown clock ticked closer to the start of the duel, the space station buzzed with rumors. People gathered in the stands, whispering among themselves, eager to see how this strange contest between a human soldier and an alien warrior would unfold. The human, who had appeared calm and composed in the face of such a challenge, had quickly become the topic of conversation. Some doubted his abilities, while others whispered that there was more to him than met the eye. The alien woman, on the other hand, was a well-known figure. Her reputation stretched far beyond the walls of the station. She had single-handedly taken down entire enemy battalions, and her battle record was unmatched. There were few who dared to challenge her strength, and those who did were often defeated quickly and without mercy. Her name was spoken with awe, and for many, she was the embodiment of power and superiority. But the human soldier? Most had never heard of him. His name was barely recognized, and he had no famous record of battles to his name. He was just another human soldier, one of many who roamed the station's corridors. Yet there was something about him, something that made the whispers in the crowd grow louder with each passing minute. Some of the more experienced soldiers on the station who had crossed paths with him in the past were not so quick to dismiss him. They knew that appearances could be deceiving. They had seen the way he carried himself, the quiet confidence in his every move. He wasn't a loud or boastful person, but there was a calm strength in his demeanor that couldn't be ignored. "You've seen him in action, right?" One soldier asked another, his voice low and serious. The second soldier nodded slowly. "I've seen him take down multiple opponents without breaking a sweat. He's fast, precise, and doesn't waste energy. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, it's usually when it counts." Others in the crowd exchanged curious glances. Could this unassuming human soldier truly stand a chance against someone as powerful as the alien warrior woman? Far away from the crowds, in a quiet room, away from the public eye, the human soldier sat alone. He wasn't nervous, nor was he particularly eager. He had faced challenges before, some more dangerous than this, but they were always the same. Combat was a test of patience, precision, and endurance. The outcome had little to do with size or strength and everything to do with tactics. In his mind, this was just another fight, nothing more, nothing less. He focused on his breathing, keeping his mind clear of distractions. His training had prepared him for moments like this, when everything depended on staying calm under pressure. As he sat, his thoughts drifted to the last time he had been in a situation like this. It had been on a far-off world, where his unit had been sent to quell a rebellion. The enemy soldiers had vastly outnumbered them, and their weapons were far more advanced. But it didn't matter. He had relied on his training, his instincts, and his ability to stay cool under fire. In the end, it had been the human soldiers who walked away victorious, and it had been his quick thinking that made the difference. Back in the arena, the alien woman paced, her muscles rippling as she flexed her hands, readying herself for the upcoming fight. She had faced numerous challenges in her life, but this human soldier was unlike any opponent she had ever encountered. Her people had dominated countless worlds, crushing civilizations beneath their boot heels. She was used to watching her enemies tremble before her. But this human was different. He didn't react the way others did. He didn't seem intimidated or afraid. In fact, his silence annoyed her. She had expected him to beg for mercy, or at least make some attempt at defending himself with words. But all he had done was stand, there, unflinching. That had angered her more than she wanted to admit. "What does he think he's doing?" she muttered under her breath, her eyes scanning the space around her as she prepared herself mentally for the fight ahead. She didn't understand it. How could a mere human, someone who had never shown any signs of extraordinary strength or skill, face her without hesitation? Was this arrogance, or was he truly underestimating her? Either way, it didn't matter. She would crush him in seconds. He was beneath her, just a weak human who had no place in the galaxy's higher ranks. Yet, the more she thought about it, the more she realized that there was something unsettling about the way he carried himself. It was as if he didn't care about the battle at all. That thought made her uneasy, more than she wanted to admit. The clock on the arena wall was ticking down. The human soldier was already in position, his body loose, waiting for the signal. His eyes were locked on the alien woman, but there was no anger or hate in his gaze. He wasn't looking at her as an enemy. He was simply preparing for the duel. The countdown clock hit 0, and the signal for battle was given. The alien woman moved first, her feet pounding the ground as she charged at the human. Her arms swung forward in a calculated attack, each movement precise, her speed and strength apparent. She expected the human to back away, to falter under the pressure, but he didn't. Instead, the human soldier's body shifted to the side in one smooth motion, dodging her blow with ease. His movements were swift, like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. For a moment, the alien woman froze, caught off guard by his speed. This wasn't the fight she had expected. The silence in the arena was deafening. Every person in the crowd held their breath, waiting for the first move. On one side stood the alien woman, her muscles tense and ready for battle. She was a force to be reckoned with, her body honed through years of rigorous training and countless victories. Across from her, the human soldier stood still, his eyes fixed on her, his stance calm and unshaken. There was no fear in him, no uncertainty, just quiet determination. As the countdown ended, the tension in the air snapped. The alien woman was the first to move, her body a blur of speed and power as she charged towards the human soldier. Her movements were fluid, every step calculated to bring her closer to her opponent. Her battle instincts kicked in, and she was ready to strike him down with one swift blow. But the human soldier didn't flinch. Instead, he took a single step back, dodging her attack with a surprising amount of grace. His movements were fluid, almost effortless, as if he had predicted her every move. The crowd gasped in shock. No one had expected him to react so quickly. The alien woman's eyes narrowed in surprise, her teeth gritting with frustration. "You're faster than I thought," she muttered, but there was no hesitation in her voice. She immediately prepared for her next strike, her fists clenched tightly. This time she didn't rush. Instead, she studied the human's movements, analyzing his response. The human soldier, his face calm and focused, was no longer just dodging her strikes. He was observing, waiting for the right moment. He could sense the rhythm of her attacks, each one coming in predictable patterns. His mind was racing, calculating, planning. He knew that this wasn't a fight of strength. It was a battle of minds. The alien woman lunged again, this time with a series of rapid jabs aimed at his chest and head, but the human soldier was already in motion. He ducked under her first punch, sidestepped her second, and blocked her third with a swift, practiced movement. Her strikes had come too fast for most to even react, but the human soldier's body was moving like a well-oiled machine, every motion precise and deliberate. His counterattack was sudden. In one smooth motion he kicked out, striking her midsection with the force of a hammer. The alien woman stumbled back, caught off guard by the sheer speed of the human's reaction. She hadn't expected him to strike so quickly, especially after just evading her own attacks. Her eyes widened in shock, but her pride refused to let her show weakness. "Nice move," she said, her voice tight with anger. "But you're not fast enough." She regained her balance and charged at him again, even more furious than before. This time she used her full strength, her attacks coming like a storm. But the human soldier's movements were even quicker now, his reflexes sharper. He dodged her attacks with ease, each step bringing him closer to her as she grew more reckless. In the blink of an eye, the alien woman threw a powerful punch, hoping to end the fight with one decisive blow. But once again, the human soldier was faster. He ducked under her punch, then swiftly moved behind her, placing himself at her back. Before she could react, he delivered a swift blow to her lower back. The force of the punch left her gasping for air, her knees buckling slightly. This time, the alien woman's confidence began to waver. She wasn't used to being outmaneuvered like this, especially not by a human. She quickly turned to face him, again her eyes burning with anger. "You think you can win?" she spat, wiping the sweat from her brow. "You're nothing compared to me." The human soldier didn't respond. His silence spoke volumes. He wasn't interested in words, He was focused, entirely on the fight. His movements were calm, controlled, and precise. He had already studied her attacks, and now he was responding with calculated speed. The alien woman charged again, this time more cautiously, trying to find an opening in his defenses. But the human soldier was ready. He sidestepped her charge, grabbing her arm and twisting it in one fluid motion. He didn't use brute force. He used technique, his years of training coming into play. The alien woman gritted her teeth in pain but quickly reacted, trying to break free from his grip. She spun around, attempting to elbow him in the ribs, but he anticipated her move. He released her arm just in time to avoid the blow, then countered with a swift strike to her side. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the alien warrior, once so confident in her strength, was now visibly struggling to keep up with the human soldier. Her breaths were coming faster now, and her movements were growing sloppier. She had underestimated him. The human soldier, on the other hand, was showing no signs of slowing down. He had become a blur of motion, his every movement purposeful and precise. The alien woman's frustration began to boil over. She was used to being in control, used to dominating every battle she fought. But this human soldier was different. He wasn't just a fighter. He was a strategist. And that was something she hadn't expected. She took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing as she prepared for her next move. This time she would not underestimate him. She would end this fight. But the human soldier had already made up his mind. In that moment he knew the battle was his. With a final fluid motion he moved in, landing a blow that left her breathless and unable to continue. She crumpled to the ground, unable to stand any longer. For a moment there was silence in the arena. The crowd couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. The alien woman, the legendary warrior, had been defeated in just a few moments. And it had been the human soldier, quiet, calm, and determined, who had emerged victorious. The human soldier stood over her, his expression still unreadable, his body relaxed and steady. He had shown no anger, no pride, just quiet strength. And in that moment he had proven something far more important than physical power. He had shown that in battle, sometimes silence and strategy were the greatest weapons of all. The battle had already lasted much longer than anyone expected. The alien warrior woman, once filled with confidence and pride, now found herself struggling to keep up with the human soldier. Her breathing was heavier, and her movements less precise. She was starting to realize that this human was not just fast, he was in control. The human soldier stood across from her, his stance calm, as though he had all the time in the world. His eyes were focused, never leaving her. Despite the sweat trickling down his face and the bruises from her earlier attacks, he didn't show any sign of exhaustion. His steady breathing and quiet confidence made it clear to everyone watching that he had not only survived, but was beginning to dominate the fight. The alien woman gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. She had been underestimated her whole life, and she was not about to let this human do the same. Her pride burned with anger, and she knew she had to strike back, hard. She lunged forward again, but this time with more force, determined to land a blow that would end it all. Her strikes were faster, her attacks more aggressive, but her frustration clouded her judgment. She was no longer thinking strategically. She was letting her emotions guide her. The human soldier, however, remained calm. He stepped aside with ease, his movements fluid and precise. He didn't just dodge her attacks, he seemed to anticipate them before they even came. Every swing she made, every jab she threw, was met with a swift response that left her off balance. He sidestepped once more, and without hesitation, moved behind her, positioning himself in a way that would make her actions futile. She spun around, quickly hoping to land a blow, but he was already moving in to counter. The alien woman's frustration reached a boiling point. She roared and threw everything she had at him, each strike coming harder and faster. But with each attack, the human soldier dodged with an almost uncanny ease, his body shifting and moving with grace. For a moment the crowd gasped, watching as the alien warrior seemed to lose control. It was a rare sight. The alien woman was known for her unwavering discipline, her ability to destroy any opponent who dared face her. Yet now she was making mistakes, and it was clear that the human soldier had found her weaknesses. She lunged forward one last time, throwing a desperate punch that could have been fatal if it had landed, but the human soldier was ready. He had waited for this moment, watching her every move, learning her patterns. In an instant, he dodged her punch and grabbed her arm, twisting it with swift precision. The alien warrior cried out in pain, her body unable to resist the human's strength and speed. For a brief moment, everything stopped. The crowd was silent, watching in disbelief as the human soldier held the alien warrior's arm in a controlled lock. She was unable to move, unable to fight back. The hum of the station seemed to fade away as the tension in the arena grew thick. The alien woman's pride had taken a blow. She had been defeated before, but never like this. Never by a human. She had thought she could crush him in seconds, but he had turned her aggression against her, using it to his advantage. She struggled, but every move she made only tightened the human's grip. The human soldier didn't say a word. His expression remained unchanged as he maintained his hold. He knew that the battle wasn't won by brute strength alone. It was won by strategy, by knowing your opponent, and using their weaknesses against them. And he had done just that. The alien woman's mind raced. She had underestimated him, and now she was paying the price. Her pride, once unshakable, now crumbled with every second she remained trapped in the human's grip. The humiliation of being outmaneuvered, outsmarted by someone she had deemed weak, burned deep inside her. As the moments stretched on, the alien woman finally stopped struggling. Her shoulders slumped, and her breathing became ragged. She had been bested, and she knew it. There was no way out. The human soldier had proven himself to be more than just a mere human. He was a force to be reckoned with. The crowd, which had been silent until now, began to murmur. Some couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Others were stunned into complete silence, unable to comprehend how a single human soldier could have outclassed the mighty alien warrior in such a short amount of time. The human soldier released his grip on her arm and took a step back, his posture relaxed and steady. He didn't revel in his victory. He didn't need to. His calm and focused demeanor spoke volumes. He had won, not through brute force, but through patience and precision. The alien woman slowly straightened, rubbing her sore arm. She still couldn't quite believe what had happened. Her mind raced with the realization that she had been outsmarted. She had been beaten by a human. For a brief moment, their eyes locked. The alien woman could see the quiet determination in his gaze. He wasn't boastful, nor did he need to be. He had won, and that was enough. She had underestimated him, but now she couldn't deny his skill. The crowd was still murmuring, and the atmosphere in the arena was thick with disbelief. The human soldier had shown them something they had never expected, that there was more to strength than size and power. It was about precision, patience, and knowing when to act. The alien warrior woman, still reeling from the defeat, took a slow breath. She was not one to back down easily, but in this moment she knew she had been defeated. And though her pride burned at the loss, there was something else, something that stirred within her: respect. The human soldier had crushed her not just in battle, but in a way that would leave a lasting mark. She would never forget this fight. And neither would anyone who had witnessed it. The arena had fallen silent, and for a moment, all that could be heard was the soft hum of the station's engines in the distance. The alien warrior woman stood there, trying to catch her breath. Her body ached, her pride had been bruised, and the humiliation of defeat was almost too much to bear. She had underestimated him in every way, but now she couldn't deny it. The human soldier had outsmarted her, and she had no way of denying the truth. He was better than she had thought. The human soldier, standing across from her, was calm. His breathing was steady, his body poised and ready. There was no hint of exhaustion in his movements. He didn't seem to be in a rush, he was simply waiting. His face showed no arrogance, no pride, just quiet determination. He had done what he came to do. Now it was a matter of waiting for the alien warrior to make her next move. The alien woman, however, was far from finished. Despite the pain in her arm, despite the clear signs of fatigue, she wasn't ready to admit defeat. Her mind was racing, her thoughts filled with the burning need to reclaim control, to prove that she was still the stronger of the two. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized how out of her depth she had become. She had charged in, blinded by her confidence, and now she found herself on the defensive. She had never faced an opponent like him before. He wasn't just relying on brute strength. He was using his mind, his ability to read her movements, anticipate her next strike, and turn her aggression against her. It was a different kind of battle, one that she was not prepared for. Her usual tactics, the ones that had served her well for years, were useless here. The crowd, sensing the shift in momentum, held its collective breath. They had expected the fight to end quickly in the alien woman's favor. But now, with every passing second, it became clearer that they were witnessing something far more extraordinary than they had anticipated. They were watching a battle of minds, not just bodies, and it was one that the human soldier was winning. The alien warrior woman's eyes flickered with frustration. She couldn't let this happen. She was stronger, faster, more skilled. She had to be. She had built her reputation on her ability to crush her enemies, and she wasn't about to let a human be the one to shatter it. With a deep breath, she squared her shoulders and launched herself at him once again. This time, she moved with more control, more patience. She couldn't afford to be reckless anymore. She needed to use her experience, her knowledge of combat, to her advantage. She had to be smarter, more calculated. But the human soldier was already prepared. He stood firm, his eyes watching her every movement. As she closed the gap between them, he took a small step to the side, just enough to avoid her strike. But this time, he didn't just dodge. He moved in swiftly, grabbing her arm and twisting it with precision, just as he had done before. This time, however, the alien warrior was ready. With a sharp, fluid motion, she broke free from his grasp, spinning around to face him once more. Her eyes burned with fury. She was done playing games. "You think you can win?" she spat, her voice filled with anger. "You're just a human. You don't belong in my arena." The human soldier didn't reply. He didn't need to. His actions spoke louder than words. With a calm expression, he waited for her to make her next move. He had no interest in proving himself to her. He was here to win. Not for glory, not for pride, but because that was his role. His mission was simple: defeat his opponent. The alien woman's attacks became faster, more erratic. She was no longer thinking strategically. The frustration and anger clouded her judgment, and she began to make mistakes. The human soldier, however, remained calm, always 2 steps ahead. He dodged, blocked, and countered every one of her attacks, with ease, his body moving like a shadow in the night, silent, swift, and unstoppable. With every strike, the alien woman grew more desperate. She was faster, yes, but her attacks were becoming predictable. The human soldier could see it now. She was no longer in control of the fight. It was slipping away from her, and the more she tried to regain it, the more she lost her composure. In one final attempt, she charged at him with everything she had left, hoping to land a blow that would end it all. But the human soldier, with his unflinching focus, sidestepped her at the last moment, his body moving faster than her eyes could follow. He grabbed her by the wrist, and in one swift motion, twisted her arm behind her back. She gasped in pain, her body going limp as he held her in place. The crowd fell silent, watching as the alien warrior, once so powerful and confident, was now completely subdued. The human soldier stood tall, his grip firm but controlled. He had won, and he had done it without uttering a single word. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The alien woman's chest heaved with exhaustion, her mind still trying to process what had just happened. She had been defeated by a human. She had never imagined it could happen this way. She had spent her life conquering worlds, crushing enemies beneath her feet, and yet, in a matter of minutes, this human soldier had undone everything she believed in. The human soldier slowly released his grip on her, stepping back. His expression remained unchanged. He had done what he came to do, and now it was over. The alien woman stood there, breathing heavily, her pride shattered. She had been bested, and she knew it. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but as she looked into the human soldier's eyes, she couldn't help but feel a sense of respect. He hadn't just beaten her physically, he had outwitted her, and that was something she couldn't ignore. The crowd erupted into applause, the sound of their admiration filling the arena. The human soldier had won. Not with brute strength, but with strategy, patience, and quiet determination. The arena was filled with a sense of stunned silence. The fight that had begun as a fierce battle between the human soldier and the alien warrior had come to an unexpected and decisive point. The alien woman, once full of arrogance and confidence, now stood hunched over, breathing heavily, her body trembling with exhaustion. She had given everything she had in this fight, her strength, her speed, her pride. But despite her best efforts, she had been outmatched by the human soldier, who had shown no sign of weakness from the start. The human soldier stood across from her, calm and composed. His eyes, once focused solely on the alien woman, now scanned the arena. He had no interest in the cheers or the gasps of disbelief coming from the crowd. He had come here for one reason: to win. And that was exactly what he had done. He had studied her movements, anticipated her attacks, and used her own aggression against her. In the end, his strategy had been flawless. The alien warrior woman took a slow, shaky step forward, her legs unsteady beneath her. Her pride was bruised. But she wasn't about to let this human defeat her without trying one last time. Her mind raced, searching for any way to regain control. She wasn't ready to accept defeat, not like this. She had faced countless enemies and crushed them with ease, but this human, he was different. She had never faced anyone like him before. The human soldier watched her carefully, his expression unwavering. He had no need to rush. He knew that the battle was all but won. Was no need to be reckless, no need to taunt or boast. He had defeated her without uttering a single word, and he intended to finish this the same way. He was patient. He was waiting for her to make her next move. With a burst of determination, the alien woman launched herself at him once again, faster than she had before. She knew this was her last chance. She couldn't let him win like this, couldn't let him walk away victorious. Her desperation fueled her speed, and she moved. With a force that could have crushed any opponent, she aimed for his chest, her fist driving forward with everything she had left. But the human soldier was already moving. His body shifted to the side, and in one smooth motion, he dodged her punch. The alien woman's momentum carried her forward. But before she could regain her balance, the human soldier was on her. He moved quickly, grabbing her arm with precision, twisting it with such skill that she couldn't escape. Pain shot through her body, but it wasn't the pain that overwhelmed her. It was the realization that she had been outplayed. She had given everything, but it hadn't been enough. She struggled, trying to break free, but the human's grip was too strong. She had lost. Her vision blurred with frustration as she felt her strength fading. She had never been in this position before. Never had she been forced to admit that she was no longer in control. Every instinct told her to fight back, but deep down she knew there was no more fight left in her. The human soldier stood there, holding her in place with calm determination. His expression remained unchanged, but there was something in his eyes, a quiet respect for his opponent. He had won, but there was no need to revel in it. He wasn't interested in humiliating her. He had simply done what he had to do, and now it was over. The alien woman finally stopped struggling, her shoulders slumping in defeat. She stood there, her chest heaving with exhaustion, her mind struggling to comprehend what had just happened. The human soldier had outwitted her, outlasted her, and defeated her without a single word of boast. For the first time in her life, she felt small. She had always been the one in control, the one who crushed her enemies with ease. But this human soldier, had made her feel powerless. The crowd had gone silent again, their eyes fixed on the two combatants. The alien woman stood still, unable to move while the human soldier held her in place. The tension in the air was thick. The silence stretched on, and then slowly, the sound of applause began to rise. It started as a quiet murmur, but it quickly grew louder as the realization hit the crowd. The human soldier had defeated the mighty alien warrior. The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers echoing throughout the arena. The human soldier had proven himself. He had done what no one thought possible. The alien warrior woman stood there still and silent as the applause continued. She didn't look at the crowd. She didn't need their approval. Her eyes were fixed on the human soldier, who stood before her, unmoved by the cheering. For a moment, their eyes locked. The human soldier's gaze was steady, unwavering. There was no anger, no pride, just a quiet understanding. He had won, and there was no need to say anything more. The alien woman's chest rose and fell with each breath, and finally she spoke, her voice low and steady. You are not what I expected," she admitted, her words tinged with respect. The human soldier didn't respond. He simply nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. He had nothing to prove, and he didn't need to explain himself. His actions had already spoken louder than words ever could. With a final glance, the alien warrior woman straightened herself, trying to regain some of her former dignity. She had been defeated, but she wasn't broken. She had learned something today, something that would stay with her forever. The human soldier had crushed her not with force but with patience, strategy, and skill, and for the first time, she understood what it meant to be truly defeated. The arena was still buzzing with excitement, but the fight had come to a quiet end. The crowd's applause echoed through the walls, their cheers reverberating in the air. But despite the roar of approval around him, the human soldier stood motionless. His eyes were focused ahead, but there was no joy in his expression, no sense of victory. He had done what he needed to do, and now it was over. The alien warrior woman stood a few steps away, her head slightly lowered, her body still recovering from the intense battle. She was breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling as she tried to regain her composure. The fight had drained her more than she was willing to admit. She had been bested, not by her strength, but by her pride and impatience. The human soldier's calmness in the face of such aggression was something she had never expected. She had believed that her power, her years of battle experience would be enough to defeat him. But she had been wrong. She had underestimated him in every way. And now, standing there in the arena, she couldn't help but feel a strange mix of frustration and respect. The human soldier slowly turned, his movements precise and controlled, and began walking toward the exit of the arena. He didn't look back, and his expression remained unchanged. The crowd continued to cheer for him, but it was clear that he wasn't interested in their praise. He had won the battle, and that was all that mattered. The alien warrior woman stood still, watching him leave. Her mind was racing, her thoughts still spinning from the fight. She had fought countless battles, but none had left her with such a sense of defeat. She was used to crushing her enemies with ease, watching them fall before her without even breaking a sweat. But this time, it had been different. Her pride, once her greatest strength, had been her downfall. She had let her anger cloud her judgment, pushing her to attack recklessly. She had thought that her power alone would be enough to win, but it hadn't been. The human soldier had shown her something she had never truly understood before. There was more to battle than strength. It was about control, patience, and strategy, and in that respect, he had been the better fighter. The crowd's cheers grew louder, and for the first time since the fight began, the alien warrior woman allowed herself to look around. The people in the stands were still applauding the human soldier's victory. She could feel their eyes on her, some filled with awe, others with disbelief. She was the one who had been defeated. She was the one who had failed. But instead of feeling anger, she felt something else. A quiet, reluctant admiration. The human soldier had earned her respect. He had proven that strength wasn't always measured by size or power. Sometimes, It was about the mind, about knowing when to act and when to wait. She straightened her posture, trying to regain some of the dignity she had lost. She wasn't used to feeling like this, but she knew she couldn't hide from it. She had been beaten, and she had learned something important. As the crowd continued to cheer for the human soldier, the alien warrior woman walked slowly to the center of the arena, her steps heavy with thought. She didn't care about the applause anymore. She didn't care about her reputation or her status as a warrior. All that mattered now was that she had learned a valuable lesson, a lesson that would change the way she approached battle from that moment on. The human soldier had shown her that strength wasn't just about physical power. It was about strategy, timing, and the ability to control your emotions. He had defeated her not through brute force but through patience and precision, and in the quiet aftermath of the fight, as the crowd's cheers began to fade, she couldn't help but feel a deep respect for the man who had shown her that. For the first time, she allowed herself to smile. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there. She would not let this defeat define her, but she would remember it. The human soldier had earned her respect, and she knew she would not forget the lesson he had taught her. As the human soldier disappeared from view, the alien, warrior woman stood in the center of the arena, her mind still racing with thoughts. She had been defeated, but she was far from broken. She would come back from this, stronger, wiser, and more prepared. The human soldier had shown her that even the strongest could be outmatched by something as simple as strategy. And that was a lesson she would never forget. The crowd had begun to disperse, and the sounds of the station's engines filled the air once more. But the alien warrior woman remained where she was, lost in thought. She had been humbled, but she had learned something far more valuable than any victory. And as she walked out of the arena, she knew that this battle was far from over. She would be back, and next time, she would be ready.